So round two, up against Taylor Wilkinson and their World Eaters with a very apt Who Needs Guns name. So go through the list. He's got Khan, Invocatus, Multicutions, and Slaughterbound. So all these three will lead Berzerker squads, and then Slaughterbound joined the Exalted 8-bound for maximum punching. 3 Berzerker squads, 2 Rhinos, 3 Spawn, 8-bound, 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, Goremongers, Jackals. So a very sort of standard aggressive bodies list. I've played this matchup a couple of times from both sides. I think it is generally CSM favoured because both sides punch really hard and have to be respectful of each other's combat threats. But CSM have guns, which is quite an advantage. So World Eaters, they need a bit of jank to go their way. And the two best ways they have it are the Berzerkers with their Blood Surge. So shoot them, they lose a couple, they get into a combat where you weren't expecting, and -1 damage. The other worry from a CSM perspective is Spawn. Thankfully, I've got pretty good answers to that in general. I either have very cheap units, don't mind them surging into, and then I can counter-attack with a proper unit, or I have Cypher, and Cypher just changes the matchup. So sometimes you look at World Eaters and you go, shit, I need to kill 2 squads, but if I charge while the other interrupts, they -1 damage the first one, and the combat just goes horribly wrong. But Cypher with his Vector normally means they can do one of those, or if they're a bit more aggressive with their CP, they go into their turn with 2, you move Cypher up, it's the unit you don't want to interrupt, and you sort of swing the game there and then. So, really nice from CSM's perspective. So the basic game plan is basically make sure the 8-bound can't get into anything too juicy, and just be mindful of the Khan squad, because the Berzerker squad, a 10-man, even with a Master of Executions, probably doesn't do too much to a Berserker squad, and they're going to hit back very hard. I don't want that to happen if I would. I'd rather go into screens, but being prepared to be a little bit less trady and a little bit more just protective of hammer units is good, and if I need to expose one hammer to bring out a couple of theirs, then that might be fine as well. So, as for the game, this was my deployment. No guns, so I could be a little bit more aggressive with my deployment. It's so weird the mindset you get into sometimes, because I had these Berzerker squad which are hiding in this building up here. I still wanted to put them in this building, and I realised I was getting no benefit from that. But in general, you see much more aggressive with one of the cultist units. They are spaced, so 32 bases can't fit through them. And then a trader guardsman on the end just sort of complete the rack. So I don't have to. And the advantage of having them there and then these guys there is that I don't have to be too worried about the scout move, running up, charging. If 8-bound want to come and kill my 5 Reavers, that's kind of fine. They definitely die on the clapback. And even if it's a decent, well, not a horrible trade for Worldie's perspective, it just gets rid of their sort of threats that I like to take out my hammers very easily and very cheaply. The other thing is that CSM Overwatch from Defilers is really nasty, and 8-bound do not like being overwatched at all. So, more of a physical, I'm going to block your screen, a bit more of a, jelly's probably too strong a word, but more, let's get our cheap stuff in the way, let's thrust an Overwatch as if they try and get too close, and then let's counterattack with our 3 hammer combat units in particular. And I could have Terminator Captain Morn in Deep Strike as well. Again, the potential to rapid ingress Overwatch on a Berzerker squad and very plausibly take out 5 of them might just change the maths on a sort of key combat. Well, its deployment, I was quite aggressive with my file deployment so they could poke out and see things, and especially with the redeploy, I could keep them safe from any 8-bound, to see where the 8-bound ended up before they scouted and sort of take that into account, or just as I did here, body block them things so that cool, you want to come and charge them, sure, this guy's still going to come over and poke out here. So it meant that this Rhino in particular with Khan had to be or felt the need to be very defensive and hide back to make sure that transport things weren't killed. Simply with these 8-bound here, so this is one of the problems when you have no guns. That the opponent can be very aggressive on the line, and you end up sort of forced further back with some of your units. I don't think it's wrong for World Eaters to do that. Forge Fiends, I don't think really changed its file, and I might have just done the same anyway. But it is a occupational hazard that you run into. Otherwise, got Jackals here. They've got some spawn that have started scouting up and moving. These guys coming over here. Yeah. So I went first. Mission was Scorched Earth. It's normally not a mission I like, just because it's very easy to hold your home, hold your expansion, and cruise your way to 40, and then whoever goes second gets the sort of rest of the points. And I don't really like it from that perspective. It devalues the primary a lot and adds a lot of things to the person going second, which I don't feel is always the most fun mission. It's not the worst by any stretch, but it's just a little restrictive. I have a very quiet turn. One is one of those typical, I'm going to move up, I'm going to keep these cultists within 6 of my possess, and I do something so very similar over here, so that any of the Chafka that comes in I can hit. And it feels like quite a bad turn one. I think I draw some quite bad secondaries as well, and I end up discarding things, but yes, here, body blocking space with the Reavers and the Rhino, the sort of natural walls of here sort of thing, so it's hard for any of the World Eaters stuff to get in. So the mindset I was trying to get into was, how can I be aggressive into World Eaters, especially going first, but matching that with not being reckless. So here's lots of stuff. If you want it, you can come and get it, but if you do it with anything little, I might be able to heroic. If you do it with anything big, then you're hurting anything little things. So my turn went fine. Little disappointment things. My opponent's turn went really well for me, and this I think highlights a lot of the differences from the World side of the matchup, where I put stuff out, they put some spawn in over here to take out my cultists, or I think they put all three spawn out. So one came here, attacked my traitor enforcer. I heroics into them. They put another squad into the middle to try and take out the cultists. I overwatched with my defiler that's sort of off screen over here. I was like, cool, if I kill one, then the cultists probably live and I hold the objective. They end up killing both, which was really, really nice. And suddenly it's like, cool, the opponents had their turn, but I've taken out 2 units and fought something from them already. So these guys fight the trading guard. I think they kill them both, which sort of works in my favour as well, because then the possessors actually have space to get. I was like, oh cool, I'm going to get 3 or so in here. But then when these 2 die, it's like, oh, all of these guys suddenly pile in as well, and we absolutely butcher them. The loss of the spawn over here is huge, because especially combined with, I think it was area denial they drew. So they're like, I don't want to give up points and have the cultist screen for another turn and not get area denial. So they end up putting some 8-bound there as well. And the spawn is charging over here on the left flank. Again, they can't really get into anything valuable. It's a bit annoying. I was expecting the Rhino to take a bit of damage, but they're fine. But I was past 6 saves and failed them all, so even with the Reavers died. So yes, a bit frustrating there. But A, it means they're able to disembark and just put loads of OC in the point. But B, again, this is why the Reavers were really nice in this match a lot. A, they can go upfield and screen a bit, but B as well. If World Eater spawn charge a Legionnaire squad, it's probably just dead. Lots of attacks, 2 damage goes in. Nice. The same thing that destroys that squad, they come in here. The spawn probably win the fight over like 2 or 3 turns, but these guys are going to keep out OCing them on the point, and it just means that I hold this point, I hold my home. It's a nice start to the game for CSM, and it's a really strong turn 1, especially as, the 8-bound have to come in. They're right in the open. There's nothing they can. They've got no defensive profile. These guys up here, so they can come in and threaten these 8-bound. And from having gone from quite a static position, I guess, turn 1, I've suddenly got a chance to go and really put the attack into World Eaters. So yeah, blow a shop. This is my left objective for most of the previous shots. The Reavers and these guys just piling out onto the objective to make sure that Spawn don't fancy coming in and getting smacked by Euan for free. This is position end of CSM turn, and I don't care much of note, but I do. It's a really good turn for CSM, and it's one of those turns that sort of goes well without really having too many breakpoints, but all the breakpoints going my way. So Possessed move up. They end up charging just the Jackals and killing them, because this Defiler is able to get a bead on the 8-bound that were here and just kills them all. Euan on Friends soften up the 8-bound a bit, and the Defiler charges and finishes it off. Over here, I poked the Defiler out. This wouldn't be something I'd have done against something that's a bit more well-rounded, but against World Eaters, I just don't care that it's a bit visible, and it's able to take out Jackal. I think 2 Jackal squads, one that's on the home objective, one that was out here screening out Morn. Just taking units up there. These guys came out, they killed something over here. It was Jackals. Was it 2 Jackals? No. Defiler just killed 1 Jackal squad, sorry, and then these guys killed another. And it means that although I've got this Defiler exposed and these Possessed here, it's the case that I've now got more hammers than World Eaters have answers. So let's use those hammers and see what World Eaters do, because there's going to be problems for them. And we'll see that a lot in the World Eaters turn, because they've lost control of all the objectives. They don't have any chaff. They don't have any easy way to sort of go softly anywhere. They've got to start putting things in. And I've got loads of CP. I don't think I've spent a CP at this point. So I've been banking them up. The bad secondaries are all sort of working out in the favour that they're able to get more CP. And it means I'm going into World Eaters turn with rapid threats, with Overwatch threats, with interrupt threats as well. So yeah, the one thing I did have to be careful about a bit is the World Eaters did have the Attempt Berzerker with Invocatus in reserve. So Trader Guard squads just sort of combining with Cultists to screen out my thing. Just make sure that World Eaters can't get anywhere I don't want them to. And again, this helps when I talked about why I want to be aggressive with World Eaters. Again, just pushes all their deep strike back there. The deep strike isn't even coming to their half, and the fact that this objective has been, all the World Eaters chaff is cleared, means that although this objective was stickied, these guys now have potential to go and get there. And again, they don't want to deal with this squad, they want to deal with all this stuff. So working out a way to do that is a pain, especially with the ability to burn objectives, which really worried them. So, World Eaters have their go turn. We were chatting after the game and we both agreed that there was sort of one key mistake here. So this is World Eaters just before the fight phase. They played around the Overwatch pretty well. The only thing that could have Overwatch was the sort of, was a defilement to these guys, but I didn't care enough to them. I didn't want to keep them honest, so I didn't end up doing it. And then by the time I could, it was too late. Oh, sorry, by the time I'd been interested, it would have been too late. Berzerker squad that's in the Rhino comes out somewhere here-ish, so they can advance without being in Cypher's aura. They then advance up to here-ish and make a charge into Trace Guard. This was kind of a mistake. So at this point, 8-bound are coming here, these guys are coming here, and these Berzerkers can have the choice of going into the Trace Guard or the Possessed. The reason why it's a mistake and why it happened was the opponent was really worried about the interrupt, especially from the Possessed, and went on the theory that if you charge 2 squads of Possessed, one is going to interrupt and butcher one squads, whereas the Defiler, you see its last gun fell off there, is a bit more swingy into them. So they banked that we'll go here, we'll have one good combat, we'll have one combat which goes, well, we'll butcher them and then pile into the objective, and then we'll see how the interrupt goes here. I think the opponent's better off going in here, smashing the Possessed, being like, cool, one of these goes bad, but then I have a good combat, and a bad combat, rather than a good combat, a bad combat, and an irrelevant combat. So you get 2 good and 1 bad versus 1 good, 1 bad, and 1 whatever. And I think especially when you're already behind, I think that's a better play. As happened, Khan and friends absolutely butcher these World Eaters. These Possessed. I do use the the quote-unquote bad fight on death stratagem on the possessed, so the 4-op version, and they end up doing quite well. They kill about 5 of the Berzerkers. It obviously, World Eaters in charge of the objective, it leaves them with all their good guys, but it just takes a bit of the sting and a bit of the reach out of the squad as well. Over here, these guys obviously kill the Dread Guy and move in here. Here I do interrupt and use a CP to make sure that I do some damage. I end up killing the 3 exalted Slaughter 8-bound. The Slaughter Brute gets very angry and does a lot of damage to the Defiler, but it does cling to life. And again, although it feels like the World Eater's turn has been about as good for me as it has been for them, and we're going into a really good position for me. So yes, I've still got Euan squad are fine, I've still got this Possessed squad that are fine. Berserkers have come and taken my objective, which is a pain, but I still control these 2, so it's not the end of the world. I'm still threatening there. The Invocata squad end up deciding to deep strike onto their home objective, and to stop me from just walking onto it with the Reavers, they ended up placing Berserker in a place that I could see them with my Defiler potentially next turn, so that I couldn't just walk on and stop burning. So yeah, well, Berserkers came up here, we've got the Reavers here, and we have the Berserkers over there on my objective. Start on view. Yes, we're still at end of combat. Berserkers sort of trying to consolidate in a way that's interesting. Slaughterbound and Defiler sort of standing off against each other. So, game accelerates very quickly here. I almost did something very clever, but ended up getting a bit lazy and didn't. World Eaters had 5 on death at this point. I moved Possessed over here. Ciphers over here so they can't -1 damage. And Possessed will just kill 10 Berserkers and Master Executions. Sometimes if you do it, they can just do it with Dev Wounds, depending on how aggressive you want to be with your rerolls. And what I wanted to do is get these cultists sort of basing this guy, so that the cultists get murdered instead of having the Master Executions taxed Possessed. I'll be honest, at this point I was enough ahead that I just simply forgot to charge these guys in. And it meant the Berserkers took a chunk out of the Possessed, but without the charge bonuses and everything, they killed like 3 and it didn't matter. So technically a bad play there, or a little bit of sort of bad micro there, but at this stage I'm very far ahead, it just doesn't matter. Defiler fell back over here. I was tempted to fall back and shoot, in the end I ended up holding my CP and it just decided to come over here, threaten an Overwatch, be in the way, and just give World Eaters more problems than they can solve. So I've got Euan squad here, ready to do some damage here. These guys are keeping things up honest there, and then I've got Defilers poking up to do some shooting over there. So yes, got the middle and my expansion objective. Trader guy coming up here, these guys coming up here to take out things. Wanted to play around the surge. Cypher is way too far away to stop there. But because of where the Reavers were last time, where they could have otherwise just gone on here and denied the home and maybe stopped doing an action to burn it, World Eaters put a couple of guys out here, and then had the unfortunate thing of the Defiler. I don't think the Defiler rolled that hot, but their saves were terrible. So the Excruciating Cannons, which are 6-1-2 and there's 12 shots of them, it was one of the things where I got sort of something like 14 hits with a sustained, 12 wounds, and then they just failed like 6 or 7 saves from them right off the bat. It killed most of the squad, and the Plaster and the Las Cannons killed not only the rest of the Berserkers but Invocatus as well. And if there's any doubt about the game, that just ends it right there. These guys line up, do a bit of shooting into the Rhino and just start taking it out. So yeah, game winding down. This guy just going like, yeah, cool. I can't charge you. I'm going to die. Let's be as aggressive as we can be. And essentially, these two in a Rhino there were the only things left at the end of World Eater's turn. And yeah, these guys come in, they charge the Rhino. This squad just obliterated. I'd deep struck Morn to come and like flamer a couple of them and charge in potentially, and I had the nice problem of the Defiler doing so well that he just couldn't do anything, just sat there. And that was essentially it. I can't remember if we played out the Berserkers killing the Defiler and then getting killed by everything in my army. Or not, but yes, very strong win for CSM. It's a hard matchup for World Eaters. I think you've kind of just, you either have to go, I'm going second, I'm going to play this as a really, really slow trading game, and find a way to stop the Defiler coming out here. So maybe you spend a spawn unit a turn just to come and block the Defiler from physically being able to poke out here and shooting down here, and then you can kind of play the angles everywhere else. It's hard. I've got more disposable units that are hard to kill, or well, like a spawn will come out and kill most of a cultist squad, but it's not that unreasonable that like 3 live and hold an objective. So it's quite tough. I think maybe you just bank on going first potentially, or bank on being really aggressive, stage everything here and go essentially going war. I understand why you don't. You risk that things are getting picked off early. But otherwise, I think it just ends up being a really tough game for World Eaters. Because essentially they were obviously outshot, and the combat and tricks of CSM, which is a lot like Huron's unit, just did nothing all game. They didn't need to do anything all game. And when you've got a unit that expensive that's just able to sit and be a bit of OC essentially and be like, cool, we've got a flamer and a few bolter type things, it sort of thing it shows quite how dominant was. Really like the Reavers in this game. They were sort of, they didn't kill anything really apart from a few jackals, but they were really nice in setting the tempo. So very impressed by that. The game ended 93-39 to CSM.